At a charity event in New York, U.S. President Biden said literally the following: "We have a guy who I know well. He is not joking when he talks about the potential use of tactical nuclear weapons, because his military, one might say, is not doing very well. We haven't faced the prospect of Armageddon since Kennedy and the Cuban Missile Crisis," Biden said, after which it became clear that the prospect of nuclear war is not an alarmist nonsense, since the first person of such a superpower as the United States spoke about it. In May 2021, Biden already warned that America would soon have to face a big power, with the use of weapons. And a few months later it happened. Now he is preparing public opinion for the fact that Putin will try, at a minimum, to equalize the nuclear score. The dictator is haunted by the thought that the United States used nuclear weapons twice in 1945, when they attacked the Japanese cities of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. As conceived by the master of the Kremlin, a nuclear attack could force Kyiv to come to terms with the loss of territories and sit down at the negotiating table. In a conventional war, Putin cannot win. He simply has no one and nothing to fight with. Its mobilized mass is drunk and unfit for combat, poorly equipped and devoid of motivation. The only thing Putin has left is the nuclear trump card. But he will have the opportunity to make only one volley, and the question arises, where exactly will he throw his missiles? Only in Ukraine, and only two to equalize the mythical score? Or, realizing the gravity of the consequences, will he also hit the EU countries with a cry of "Don't get you to anyone, damn planet"? The Russians have long been in a coma. Moreover, in this state they are even sent to the front, or rather, to die. Ukrainian Defense Minister Reznikov addressed Russian soldiers, officers and generals: "You have been deceived and betrayed. You were promised an easy ride, and sent to the trap. You are paying in blood for someone's fantasies and decoys. But it is unlikely that those who are fettered by fear and bound by the mutual responsibility of the criminal zone will hear it." In Moscow, in the absence of advertisers who had long since left the mournful cave, huge banners depicting the Mother of God were hung on large buildings. It seems that the population is being prepared for the transition from comatose sleep to eternal sleep. True, in the last week it began to timidly show signs of life, admitting to an increase in anxiety. According to the Public Opinion Foundation, 34% recognized partial mobilization as the main event of last week, 25% of respondents noted the situation on the fronts of Ukraine, and only in third place were Putin's referendums with 20%. The level of social anxiety is very high, as much as 70%. 26% of respondents declared their calm moods. Perhaps they completed the survey without even waking up. Putin's mobilized people are recording heartbreaking videos and appealing to the population: "We are being treated like cattle." And after that, they still go to the territory of Ukraine with weapons in their hands. But there is also an indicative precedent. The Irks recruited by Prigozhin, having received weapons, united in a gang and rushed in a military vehicle from the Kherson region towards the Crimea. Soon there will be a lot of such Irkagans of luck. Perhaps they will be able to stir up civilian comatose people or put them to sleep forever. Propagandists demand that those responsible for the failure of the autumn campaign in Ukraine be held accountable. Even the collaborator Stremausov, who fled from the Kherson region, barely catching his breath, advises Shoigu to shoot himself. And Solovyov calls for the urgent return of the 58th Stalinist article about counter-revolution and plans for an uprising. A premonition of trouble hovers over the cave. The defeat in the war with Ukraine will bring down Russia into such a depression, multiplied by internal aggression, in comparison with which the dashing 90s will seem like a children's matinee. Therefore, the West needs to paint scenarios for managing these thoroughly criminalized Augean stables, which are also saturated with fascist ideas. The task is not easy, but it will have to be solved. Unless, of course, humanity is ready to join the dance with the cannibals and go with them to a new circle to the merry song based on a stake, start over. Because it will end with a thermonuclear, not this time, but the next.